snowy Friday to everyone. I'm Mike Berkmeyer. I'm chairman of the board for the Lincoln County Chamber of Commerce, and it's my sincere honor to welcome you to the 63rd annual Groundhog Breakfast. For those of you tweeting this morning, please use the hashtag on the screen. LCGH 2019 to let all your followers know that you're up at the crack of dawn with all the snow to provide valuable feedback to us, the Chamber, about this event. Now, I'm pleased to be joined on stage by Adam and Erica Catt, who make up the duo Cherry Avenue. They will be performing the national anthem following the presentation of colors. I do want to note, no one has an excuse to be late here today for weather. These two left Nashville last night after a show at 9 o'clock, and we're here at 5:45. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will please stand and honor our country as the Lincoln County Veterans Service Office presents the colors.
Right, face, to host. Post colors. To host.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And now, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Work hard. Right, face, forward, march.
Thank you, Cherry Avenue, and thank you, Program. You can all be seated. Next, it's my privilege to introduce husband and wife pastors Justin and Mindy Ross of Impact City Church to deliver our invocation.
Good morning. Good morning. It is an honor to be here with all of you today. We are Justin and Mindy from Impact City Church in Pentaskala, and we were first introduced to the chamber last year as we had the honor of being chosen as one of the top 20 under 40, which was a first for us, and I heard a first for the chamber that they allowed a couple to be one of the top 40. So we thought that was pretty awesome. We're one flesh anyway, right?
That's true, but at least you guys didn't make us share one breakfast. We appreciate it.
No. 2 tickets, one for me, one for the baby. That's how that works. Well, we're going to pray over today's event and over this meal. If you'll join us and bow your heads.
You know, it's amazing to look out here and see 700 people. What a example of unity. Couldn't believe that 700 people would come out here for breakfast to celebrate a Groundhog. And so I've decided, as we're launching a new location in Granville this year, I'm going to have the chamber do all of our marketing. This is amazing. So, but the scripture says in Psalm 133, it says, "Behold how good and pleasant it is when brothers and sisters dwell in unity, for there the Lord will command his blessing, life forevermore." And as we come together, whether it be for economic forecast, to celebrate one another's leaders, that spirit of unity, God blesses. And I truly believe that this county will be blessed because of your leadership as business owners, community leaders, city leaders, church leaders come together. So thank you. I just want to pray a prayer of blessing over us this morning. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for the gathering that we have here today. I lift up each and every leader who you've anointed and appointed to be a significant influence in our community. But I just pray that you would guide their steps, that you would give them wisdom on how to pursue your goals for them this year. And Lord, as we come together in unity, as we lift up your holy name, I ask that you would bless them and bless this county and our community.
Lord, I pray that your blessing over this event, that each person here would receive value and would give value to someone else. I pray your protection over them as they travel back home, and that we would all glean from the message that Mr. Johnson has today. You bless him in his travels back home. And all of us, we give you thanks and we give you honor for being here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, pastors, for your thoughtful words. I would like to take a moment now and ask all of our elected officials, local, county, state, and federal, who are with us today, to please stand and be recognized. You know you're out. We want to thank you for all of our chamber events are team efforts. This is especially true of the Groundhog Breakfast, which, as you can see, with 700 attendees, has become kind of a big deal. So I would like to take a minute to recognize the people who make this event happen. First, Heritage Catering for getting up even earlier than most of you in the audience to prepare that delicious breakfast this morning. Mike Grayson of Grayson Graphics, who printed the Groundhog program for us. The talented people at Home Video Studio for the creation of this year's economic forecast, which you're going to see in just a little while. Martha Audio Visual for helping us light up your morning and delivering all of our production needs. Licking Memorial Health Systems for their generous contribution to our program by bringing in our keynote speaker today. And the Ohio State University at Newark Central Ohio Technical College for the use of this beautiful facility. Let's give them a special thank you. And of course, we can't say thank you enough to our sponsor, Truecore Federal Credit Union, who you will hear from in just a moment. I do want to make a quick shout out to our first guest to arrive here this morning. Roy Banana, where are you, Roy? There he is. What time did you get here?
5:15, 5:10.
Not too bad, considering the snow. That's not bad. I have the privilege of working with a dedicated group of business people who generously share their time, their talent, and expertise to lead our chamber. I would like to recognize the Chamber Board of Directors this morning, and I ask my fellow board members to stand when I call your name, and please remain standing. If you would, everyone, please hold your applause until the end. Ryan West, past chairman of First Federal Savings. Heather Powell, chair-elect, the Edwards Group at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management. Megan Evans, treasurer. Nathan Arnold, Englefield Oil Company and Elite Marketing. James Golden, Pavement Management Group. Todd Harrell, Centratech. Brandon Hess, Mattingly Family Companies and Shea Commercial Real Estate. Lori Huddle, the Lookup Center. Matt Miller, Park National Bank. Mike Jarowski, the Boeing Company. Steve Noth, Animatic Corporation. And Todd Ware, the Energy Cooperative. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for your leadership, and let's give them a round of applause for their hard work. And finally, we would not be able to make this event happen without the contributions and expertise of an eclectic group of very creative and committed individuals, our Groundhog Committee. They are all hanging out in the back or various places, and so if you turn around or look around, you'll see them as I list each one. Committee members, again, please stand as I call your name. Spencer Barker, Shea Commercial Real Estate and Elite Marketing. Tom Kaminsky, Park National Bank. Patrick Wansel, Caldwell Banker, King Thompson Real Estate. Dave Hardy, Park National Bank. Marty Klein, the Energy Cooperative. Judge Tom Marceline. Heather Powell, the Edwards Group at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management. And Chamber team members, Jennifer McDonald and Natasha Platt. Thank you all for all you do to make this event. TrueCore Federal Credit Union is this year's sponsor of the Groundhog Breakfast. Since 1940, TrueCore's tradition has been helping improve the financial well-being of others. I would now like to welcome Jay Young, President and CEO of TrueCore Federal Credit Union.
Good morning. I'd like to take a minute and talk about tradition. Webster defines tradition as a custom or a belief that's passed down from generation to generation. Now, each of us have our own personal family traditions that we celebrate, but I'm talking about something that goes even further than that. As Mike said, that TrueCore, we have a proud tradition of serving our community for the last 78 years. You can see that same proud tradition in everyone here today. I mean, heck, you came out on one of the worst winter days we've had. A tradition of doing what it takes to make our community a better place. As I look out into the crowd, I see leaders in the community, organizations, companies like Licking Memorial Health Systems, Park National Bank, Owens Corning, the Energy Cooperative. I could go on and on. These companies set the standard of excellence from which all of us should strive to achieve. At TrueCore, we are honored to be a part of this wonderful community. So a little bit about TrueCore. As a federal credit union, we are chartered to serve all of Licking County. We are led by a volunteer board of directors. We're a financial cooperative. which is really just a big word to say that a group of like-minded people got together for a common cause. But the most important piece of all of this is that we are owned by our membership, those who bank with us. Now, with ownership, it requires commitment, and commitment creates opportunity for something better, for growth, for excellence. TrueCore is working hard, not only to provide a better financial experience for our members, but also a better community for us to live in. Hopefully you can see we're not just your average credit union. As the largest credit union in Licking County, we offer 3, and as you saw, soon to be 4 full-service branches. We also are a member of the Shared Branching Network, which offers over 5,000 locations for our members to utilize throughout the United States. As I said before, we are a family-oriented financial institution. We are dedicated to the betterment of our community, and we are a proud sponsor of the 63rd Annual Groundhog Breakfast. Just one more thing. At your place setting, you'll notice that we gave you a TrueCore coffee mug and an envelope. Now inside that envelope, you're going to find a $5 bill. Now you can take that $5 and you can use it to buy your favorite latte, or you can take that $5 and open up an account at TrueCore. Now the choice is yours. You can have something hot and delicious that will last about 10 minutes. Or you can establish a lifelong membership at your credit union, your financial institution that you are part owner. I thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you and your team. We truly appreciate you sponsoring this event today for us. Thanks for the $5. Groundhog here has got something new this year. He's got a little technology going on. It's called a Groundhog GoPro. And you are all on camera. I would say that Groundhog's technology has Spencer Barker written all over it. Now, I'd like to invite Jennifer McDonald to give an update on activities of your Licking County Chamber of Commerce. Jennifer?
Good morning, everyone. A little bit tall. So I'm going to do something that is really out of the ordinary for me. I'm going to put my script right here for a moment. I'm not a really big fan of public speaking, especially with 700 people in the crowd, but I'm a somewhat decent writer. So I like predictability and I like scripting, so I like this right here. But this week was not predictable at all, and I'd like to explain a little bit about that. So I'm not complaining, this is not a poor me, this is not anything negative, I love my job. But there's a point to this, so just hang on. On Tuesday, I get a call from Sheila from Licking Memorial Health System saying, you know, there's a polar vortex coming this week, and the flights out of Atlanta, we just really don't know, and we may not have Inky here to speak. So I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I digress just for a minute because for some reason this week, I don't know why it hit so crazy in our office, but our team has been really working hard. We have a new staff member. We had 9 interviews for our economic development director. We have a wage and benefit survey. Our government affairs committee is working on some programming for local leaders. I'm working with, I'm not sure where they're at, Fred and David Rhodes on the Newark image and branding. final website redesign with Nathan and Spencer, and they're cussing me at midnight and everything like that. And then script writing, and that was really going well. So checking off bits and pieces of everything, and got to find a red dress and wash some of the black tablecloths, and all those things. And then the polar vortex. So I'm trying not to panic. We're 3 days away, and so I email our board and the Groundhog committee, and I'm like, hey guys, I need some ideas. Do you know anybody that could, kind of come in, really just kind of be a backup, because we don't know yet. They'd be willing to speak. And so, first off, Patrick Wansel says, there is some person, I believe his name's Sean Carpenter, who's always the backup. Like every time we have a meeting, hey, if somebody doesn't show, I got this guy, he's gonna come in. So immediately he's like, I got it. And then he's like, oh no, wait, he's in New York. So that fell off. So then he's like, what do you think about Kurt Harden? I said, I love Kurt Harden. Kurt Harden, I believe he's right back here if I can see him. There he is. So Kurt Harden hired me back in 1991. I love Kurt. Kurt was our chairman, I can't remember the year, but he did like a David Letterman set here, and it was really cool and fun. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So Patrick comes over, we give him a call, and we're like, hey Kurt, would you be willing just to be our backup? He's like, no. No way, absolutely not doing it, no. And I'm like, come on, you are so funny, you've got sarcasm, and like he's cutting me off. No, I am not your guy. So there's more emails coming in, and in the midst of all this, I have to go get a health assessment. And my blood pressure is really high, and I'm like, listen, I have a reason why my blood pressure is really high. Can I mark that on here so I don't get, problems? So then I get an email from Thomas Lane, and he's like, Dan DeLauder is speaking this week at Rotary about Newark and how, things have changed and how great we're doing. And we're like, that could be an idea. And Matt Miller calls me and he's like, hey, Dan is actually going on vacation, but if you need him, he will postpone. He will get here really early if we can kind of move it early in the program. And I'm like, I am not making Dan DeLauder miss his vacation. So we checked him off. I'm looking through the entire list. Mr. Balderson, Congressman Balderson, I knew you were coming, and I'm like, we might have him speak, looking at elected officials. I didn't call you this, so. Because, you don't want to have a backup and say, but we don't want you to come if we have our speakers, so that's kind of rude. So anyway, Mike Berkmeyer finally emails me, and he says, I have a good friend, her name's Mary Kaufman. She does great public speaking. She actually did some of our leadership programming years ago. She's like, I'd love to do it. So we had her on, backup. I'm like, it probably ain't gonna happen. We're all good, don't worry. We get to yesterday. She's on backup, and no big deal. And we're like, Inky may not be here because his flight's gonna be at 10. He won't get in until midnight. So I'm like, okay, Mary, would you stay at the Courtyard by Marriott and be on backup again? So she did. But what she was going to speak about is adapting to change. So that kind of gave me like this aha moment. Like, I don't always need a script. We need to adapt to change, things that happen, and we just, roll with it. So you can plan, you can script, you can check off items. But honestly, the most important thing in life is building those relationships. And that all came back to me when everybody was calling me and emailing me and, trying to get, except for Kurt, he didn't come through, but other than that. But honestly, I'm kidding, Kurt. They all have my back, and it's all about relationships, and I feel like that is truly what Licking County is all about. We know who to call and who to connect. Hey, I can help you here, I can help you there. And it just really made me feel good. Even though I was kind of in a bit of a panic, it really, really, really made me feel good. And I just have to say something about the polar vortex. It wasn't even really that cold. I mean, seriously, I just don't think it was that cold. So as you heard in the economic forecast, workforce attraction, hiring, and retention is really a concern across our county. It's really across the state, our country. We hear this at Manufacturers Council, we hear it at our HR meetings, we hear it in casual conversation, and we hear it at the board table. We had some recent discussions, some workforce solutions meetings, and at those we did hear from many of those in leadership that they are hiring recruiters, they're redefining their business culture, they're doing some non-traditional scheduling, work hours, and they're revising their salaries and organizational structure. And the Chamber recognized the importance of this issue for our members and employers today and into the future. And as a result, this has played a key role in our programming, much of our objectives this year and coming into this next year. A few of the initiatives that have been introduced that I'd like to chat with you about this morning include a launch of a pilot program with Heath High School and Young Leaders of Licking County. We're bringing young professionals from our community to chat with high school students about their post-high school experiences. They're going to introduce them to a variety of potential career pathways, and this year we focused on 4 different industries. They were business, healthcare, engineering and manufacturing, as well as potential places of employment, post-high school and college. And we just had one this week at Heath, and we had some people in the healthcare field. And it was so rewarding to sit there and see about 20 students in there who were very interested in furthering their career in healthcare talk with the pharmacist and the dentist that we had on hand. Like, what would you do different? How much did college cost? Is it worth it? So I feel like that is such a great way for us to keep our talent local, and we hope to actually move that pilot program into other schools with our Young Leaders programming. We are also presenting what we learned at our Workforce Solutions Forum at an upcoming local leaders event on February 20th with 3 different panelists featuring new ideas and best practices regarding the recruiting, hiring, and retaining. And at that same event, we will introduce Licking County Works, which is an exciting occupational marketing web-based campaign. It's highlighting manufacturing-focused job opportunities in our community that will initially be marketed via online outreach and eventually a billboard campaign. And building upon last year's successful Young Leaders of Licking County mentorship program, designed to retain and enhance our young professionals in our community, we will again match 10 young professionals with seasoned leaders for a 6-month mentorship experience that'll start later this month. We will also continue empowering professional growth by presenting programming by women for women. Our successful, well-attended Women's Leadership Network, lunch programs, and early morning coffee chats offer networking and learning opportunities for women of all ages. And we're super excited about our Women's Leadership Conference coming up on March 15th. And it's entitled Leadership from Any Seat. I hope you have your tickets though, because it's been sold out. It's sold out in just 2 weeks. As you can see, our community isn't just targeting one aspect of workforce development and isn't just taking one approach. We're proud of these initiatives and proud to play a role in them. And speaking of proud, we're happy to continue our partnership with the Newark Advocate to produce Proud Magazine again this year. Hot off the press and under the table up front, we will be highlighting the people and places that make our community great. Our cover photo features the new side-dome at the Works. We also, in our issue, have a Manufacturing 101, where we do a glance into a few of the county's manufacturers and the products that they produce. We do a salute to the Young Professional of the Year, Megan Evans, and Employee of the Year, retired COTC President, Dr. Bonnie Coe. I'm not even sure if Mayor Johns is here, but we actually even got him to open up in a Q&A. You know, he's so quiet. And then we have a feature of him. We will have copies available as you leave, and they're in packets, I believe, of about 20, so please take a whole packet back to your office and distribute. Now I'd like to take a moment to introduce my colleagues and your chamber team. Immediately behind me, come on up. This is Natasha Platt. Natasha is our marketing director, and she has been with the chamber for a little over 2 years. She has grown our events and our programming and our social media outreach tenfold. She does a phenomenal job. She's the most organized person I've ever seen. It drives her crazy, but I have 10,000 unopened emails on my phone. Can't handle it. But she does a phenomenal job, and I am so excited to have her as part of my team. Next up, one person you may not know is Atrina Good. She is our new office manager and the newest member of our team. Going on about a month and a half, almost 2 months now. And she fits right in. The only problem is she has no concept of work hours. She arrives at the crack of dawn. She won't leave her seat at lunch. I don't know if I'm overworking her or what, but she is doing a phenomenal job. She's very quiet, very sweet, that fits in really well, and I encourage you to get to know her. Next is Nate Strum. I don't know why you laugh, Nate. I'm not going to make fun of you. He's been busy this past year implementing our business and retention programming, traveling to trade shows, and international business prospecting. He's trying to recruit industries to grow their business, and you can't have a conversation with Nate without realizing he has so much passion, and he's just excited about his work. Brittany received a well-deserved promotion this year to vice president, and with that came some new duties and initiatives. And she takes it all in stride, and she does a phenomenal outreach for our members. Because of her oversight of our wildly successful Young Leaders programming, she will be spearheading a Young Professional Summit later this month through the state of Ohio for the Chamber of Commerce Executives of Ohio. That's pretty phenomenal that they are learning from us how we grow our Young Leaders program. So, thank you. So I kind of told you like how we're going from this to that and this to that. I cannot tell you how much this team takes on and how awesome they are, and they really, truly are rock stars. Something else that excited us this year, and we hoped you are too, is our rebranding. The Chamber debuted a brand new logo, tagline, and value statements to further affirm and express our ongoing and ever-evolving role within the community. Our newly, and I mean newly like last night maybe went live, website, lickingcountychamber.com, streamlines the process for users to easily locate chamber events, our business directory, affiliate programming, job opportunities, and more. My sincere thanks to Elite Marketing, Nathan Arnold, and Spencer Barker for their patience, guidance, and late nights through this process. Our new tagline, Building Leaders, Growing Community, completely and succinctly conveys our commitment to improve the economic and overall well-being and success of our Licking County community. In addition, our board members recently revised our value statements, and this was a fun process. Along with our taglines of Build Leaders, Grow Community, we are to serve others with integrity and professionalism. Leave our value statements. There we are. Be inclusive, foster relationships and collaboration, and embrace change. I put my script up here, embrace change, and radiate passion. So that's a little bit about where we've been in 2018 and the first month of 2019. So what's on the horizon for the rest of the year? Well, there's a lot. A quick look at the portion of what is on the Chamber's plate for the rest of the year. As I mentioned, most of our programming will be focused around workforce development and attraction. But later this year, our team will be hitting the road on a benchmarking trip. We'll be benchmarking ourselves against another community of equal size and growth, meet with their leaders, and learn about workforce solutions and business attraction, and brainstorm about ways to further develop our community. Our Government Affairs Committee will debut a brand new Washington Night event this August, offering our members the opportunity to talk face-to-face with our U.S. congressional delegation, right here. Mr. Balderson, how's August 1st look? Okay. Through our partnerships with both community improvement corporations, we have several initiatives. As I mentioned, the Licking County Works campaign with Grow Licking County and our Manufacturers Council is designed to recruit residents from neighboring counties with higher unemployment rates and fewer viable industrial-based jobs to work, move, live in Licking County. A path forward to grow our talent pool. Likewise, alongside Newark Development Partners, we are embarking on a targeted image and branding initiative with and for the City of Newark. We're creating a single brand for our city, highlighting our offerings to appeal to tourists and residents alike, and tell our story succinctly, who we are and what we stand for. Finally, as always, we are always looking for opportunities to expand the services we provide our growing membership. You'll actually receive a survey today around 10:45 a.m. that's been scheduled, and we want to hear your feedback. We are proud of the value that was recognized by almost 100 new members who joined the Chamber this year. We are strong, we're growing, and we are ready to serve you. I'd like to take a moment to thank one special group of dedicated individuals who help us make it possible to serve you, our Chamber Board of Directors. If you all would stand once again, I know you did earlier, so that we can take a moment to recognize you again for all you do. I appreciate you. Please stand. Okay, Groundhog, can you do the Grow Pro again? We'd like to look out at the audience. Okay, if you just scan the audience here. And why am I turning the camera on 700 people in the crowd? Because the Chamber is about you and us together. That is what makes our community great. The collaborations, creativity, and commitment of each of you, your organizations, and your colleagues. On behalf of myself, our Chamber team, our Board of Directors, I want to thank you, each and every one of you. I encourage you to get involved, embrace change, put your script away, and most importantly, forge relationships. And I invite you to adopt our tagline, building leaders and growing community, because it's important. Let's have the best 2019 ever. Thank you.
September 9th, 2006. It started as a normal college football game in Nyland Stadium. If anything, the event was an afterthought, dropped into the schedule at the last minute. For Inky Johnson, though, the game changed everything. A routine tackle turned into a life-threatening injury, and nothing had been normal for Inky ever since. Not with a paralyzed right arm, not with daily pain, not with constant physical challenges. His dream had always been to play professional sports. You might think his injury would have destroyed his motivation, crushed his spirit, but that's only because you don't know Inky. Who is Inky Johnson? He could have been described as a survivor of an underprivileged past. He could be described as a refugee of poverty and violence. He could be described as a success story stained by tragedy. But if you look deeper, you'll discover something else. You'll see a man who looks in the face of defeat and says, "Am I really failing, or is God prevailing?" You'll see a man gripped by the promise that God has purposes and plans far beyond our own. And you'll be inspired by his relentless determination, which he loves to impart to others through his dramatic story. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Inky Johnson.
Good morning. Good morning. First and foremost, I want to thank the leadership here. Thank you guys so much for affording me this opportunity to be here. I want to thank my friend Rob, Lincoln Memorial. Thank you guys so much. I was here 2 years ago, I think to be exact, in the community, and it was great. But before I get started, You know, it makes sense now. When I was hearing Jennifer speak, everybody I was meeting, there was like, oh man, glad you made it. And I was like, man, I had planned to be here all along. I was in the bathroom, I meet a guy, he's like, man, glad you made it. I was like, yeah, I don't know what that's about, but I planned to be here all along. But it makes sense now. All you had to do was call me, Jennifer, I planned to be here. I'd have lowered your blood pressure, everything. I just told you it's all good, right? But, you know, a few years ago, I had a cool moment to do some work with ESPN. And me and my wife, we've been at it since 5th grade. We got 2 kids. I got a 7-year-old son, 8-year-old daughter, 11 months apart. Little Irish twins give us a run for our money every day of the week. But I received a call after we did the clip, kind of 30 for 30 deal with ESPN. And I was at home one weekend and I was with my wife, my 2 children, just hanging out, having some family time. And I pick up the phone and it's the producer. And he says, Ink, what are you up to? I said, man, just hanging out, little family time. He said, I need you to take a seat. I got some news I want to share with you. So I took a seat. I said, what you got? He said, do you remember the film we did? I said, of course, man. It was awesome, great experience. Forever indebted to you guys for it. He said, well, it's nominated for an Emmy. I said, man, that's pretty cool. He said, this is a big deal because it's the first time we allowed an athlete to narrate his own film and they got nominated for an Emmy. I said, man, let me go in the kitchen. I want to share this news with my wife. And so I run in the kitchen. I'm elated. I say, babe, you're not going to believe it. I said, remember the film I did with ESPN? She was like, yeah. I said, it's nominated for an Emmy. And she was like, oh, okay, whatever. I was like, no love, right? And so I run back in the other room and I'm hyped. I'm stoked. And so I say to the guy, I said, who are we up against? Right? And the first name he says is Muhammad Ali. I said, we lost. He's like, no, he didn't tell you it's a shot. I said, I'm telling you right now, we lost. He said, I want to fly to New York. I said, there's no need. Right? And when it came out, I lost, but I got nominated, so it was all good. Right? And so, and so I'm a guy, I appreciate every aspect of life. I haven't always been this way. But I appreciate every aspect of life. I appreciate the change, the opposition, the uncertainty. I just appreciate life because September 9th, 2006, I was in a position in my life to where I was living and I thought I controlled life, right? And I had this dream of going to the NFL, right? Which I soon found out didn't just stand for National Football League, it also stood for not for long, right? And it was the only thing I wanted to do with my life because my family tree growing up, I had a grandmother that dropped out of school in the 3rd grade, a grandfather that dropped out in the 5th grade. They had 16 children. Out of the 16, 3 graduated high school and 1 just so happened to be my mother. And I was being raised inner city Atlanta in a 2-bedroom home, and there was 14 of us living there. And we used to sleep on pallets. And so I remember the first time I said NFL, I followed it up with to my cousin, maybe I can get my own bed one day. I said maybe I could pull my mother off the double shift at Wendy's. She worked the double shift from the time I was a kid until the time I was a freshman in college. And so 2006, I was in such a space to where all I had to do was play the next 10 football games, so I thought, and I would become this NFL prospect, automatic multimillionaire, and I go out in a game and I do something that I could pretty much do with my eyes closed, probably like some of you guys in your field of work, you can do things like it's nobody's business, and I make a tackle, and 2 hours later I find myself in the emergency room and I'm fighting for my life. And I wake up the next morning, I had to learn how to walk again, and I had a paralyzed right arm and hand. And not only did my career end, but my life had changed. And I'll never forget, in that moment, it was top 3 most embarrassing moments of my life, not because my football career had ended. It was top 3 most embarrassing moments of my life because I felt as if I had shortchanged my life and limited myself just to a football player. I felt as if the gift, the talents, and abilities I had been blessed with, I hadn't used them to the best of my abilities. And so every Sunday I pose a couple of questions to myself, and they go as, if this was the last week of my life, how would I serve? If this was the last week I had to be a father, how would I treat my 7-year-old son and my 8-year-old daughter? If this was the last week I had to be a husband, how would I treat my wife? If this was the last week I had to serve in my field of work, what type of servant would I become? And it's all predicated upon how do I want to be remembered with the things I'm blessed to be a part of? And approaching it with the perspective of, I don't have to do it, I get to do it. And I'm a firm believer that perspective drives performance every day of the week. How an individual view what they do will always affect how they do what they do. And so me and my wife, we're fortunate enough to where we've adopted 3 homeless shelters in Atlanta. And we do work, and it's a transitional program. And so they have a start date, they have an end date, and they gotta have a job, and they gotta have dream goals and aspirations. And so I work with the children. And I always pose the question, what do you want from this thing called life? Like, what do you want from it? And the number one answer is, Mr. Johnson, I want to be rich. And I say, I hope you get it. I said, if I was in that situation, I was coming off the streets, I want to be rich too. I never want to experience some of the things that I once experienced, but I tell them all the time, I have to be honest with you. It's very easy in life to acquire the success and not have the significance. I gotta be honest with you, it's very easy in life to become a public success, but behind closed doors, you're a private failure because you don't have the dedication and the commitment level to stay true to what you once were true to. And when I say the commitment level, the concrete commitment. Like the commitment that says, I'm gonna be at a breakfast, and when it snows, you don't use the snow as an excuse to not be at the breakfast. I'm talking about the commitment that says, I am going to stay true to what I said I would do long after the mood that I've set it in has left. Because I think we all know character's not something we inherit. Character's something we gotta wake up every single day, we gotta fight, and we gotta build it. In the midst of opposition, in the midst of challenges, and in the midst of adversity. And so something happened at a very young age in my life, and it shifted the trajectory of my life and the way that I live my life even until this day. And so I'm coming up in this community, and I got this little dream of going to the NFL, and nobody really thought much of it. But I couldn't play in organized sports because my mother didn't have the money to put me in it. And so I wanted to ignite the process. And so I had 3 younger cousins. And so I went to them and I said, man, it's simple. I just want to ignite the process and engage in consistent action with what we want. And so we'll just play tackle football in the street. And so we'll play until the street lights pop on, 10 or so minutes before we got to go in the house, and we'll do it every single day like it's clockwork. And so every day we're in the street playing tackle football, pure passion, not too much wisdom. Scarred up, bloody, getting happy. And one night we're in the street and we're playing ball, and the street lights pop on. And there's a blue pickup truck at the corner. And I'll never forget it. And I had the ball in my hand, and I stand on the sidewalk, and my 3 younger cousins are standing on the opposite sidewalk. And I'm waving at this truck. And I'm like, come on, man, I got a couple moves I want to put on these young jokers before I got to go in the house. And this gentleman is driving really slow. And he passes us slightly, and he parked on the sidewalk. And out of the truck got the first white guy we'd ever saw in our neighborhood. Drug dealers take off running. He thought the guy was the cops. The guy's the nicest guy in the world, right? And he walked over in between our game, and he says, would you guys like to play football on grass? I said, man, I would love that, brother. The street getting rough. So where you been, man? He said, go in the house, get your parents, let me talk to them. I run in the house, my Uncle JJ was present. I said, hey, Uncle, you please come and speak to this gentleman. Uncle said, sure. Uncle walked outside, the guy extended his hand. He said, hey, man, my name is Trey Hurst. He said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even supposed to be over here. He said, I dropped the kid home a couple blocks up after practice, just checking out the neighborhood. His exact words were, I see these little knuckleheads playing tackle football in the street. He said, I run a program across town. I think if you bring the boys out, sign them up, be a great opportunity for them, and it could really help them in life. My uncle responded, sir, we greatly appreciate it. He said, but I hate to inform you, we just don't have the money for anything like that at this moment. He pointed at me, he said, Inky's mother, she's a single mother. She's working at Wendy's. She don't have it to spare. He said the other 3, their fathers are in and out of the system. The coach, without any hesitation, says, I tell you what, you bring him to the park tomorrow, I'll sign him up. I'll pay for it with my own money. I tapped my cousin's leg. I said, man, he hasn't even seen my spin move yet, man. That's the type of guy he is, right? And he hadn't even seen us play. And we get to the park the next day, he's paying for not only me and my 3 younger cousins, he's paying for kids all across Atlanta. And I was intrigued by it. And this was a guy, he had his own successful construction business. He didn't have to be a Little League coach, like he was doing that as his give back. But I was intrigued by not only what he did, I wanted to understand what was his driving force behind what he did. And so most nights I would leave practice 9 o'clock at night, waiting on my mother to get off her shift. And so one night my mother couldn't make it, and she called coach and she said, can you please take Inky home? He said, sure, no problem. And so we pull up to my house, 125 Warren. And so I get out of his truck and he says to me, all right, Ink, I'll see you tomorrow at practice. I said, all right, Coach. I said, can I ask you one question? He said, sure, what you got, Ink? I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I really want to understand this. He opened his door, got out of his truck, walked around, stood directly in front of me. He said, son, I love you. First man ever tell me love me. He said, what you got, Ink? I said, why do you live life the way that you live it? Like, why do you do what you do? He said, I'm gonna share something with you, son, and I don't want you to ever forget it. And in its simplicity, it was yet profound, and all he said to me was, as long as you can live life and make sure that somebody else's life is okay, he said, son, your life will always be okay. And he got in his truck and he left. And the way I processed it was, he used to preach to me submission of ego, submission of pride. Not the pride that I'm a part of a community, I represent my family, but the pride that comes before destruction. The pride that allows emotions to overpower intelligence. And when he said it, it made me look at my little dream in such a way to where I said, man, if I approach things in the right manner and have a greater purpose to not only sports, but why I live my life, when I face opposition and adversity that stop most people, I will always supersede it, not because I'm something special, but my reason for why I live my life every single day will be different, and I will process it in a certain way. And so I asked a guy once, I said, what do you love about what you do? And the guy said, man, I go to work, I make my money, I put food on the table, got a roof over my family's head, I got clothing on my children's back. I said, I get that, but if there's one thing you could point to and say, I love this about what I do, whether it's when I go in the break room, me and my guys, we cut up on the manager, whether it's, man, on Fridays, we do this, like if there's something that you can point to and say, I love this about what I do, what is it? The guy said, man, you know what? I go to work, I make my money, roof over our head, food on the table, clothes on my children's back. I said, man, that sounds painful. I said, the average person's life expectancy is 77. Average person retires around 67, so the average person works somewhere around 50 years to be free for 11. I said, that's a raw deal. I said, it's nothing every single day that you can point to and say, I love this, right? And so for me, the game of football turned into pretty much something like this stage. It was a platform that got provided for me to cultivate a certain level of greatness and excellence. So one day when I stopped playing the game, hopefully it was certain things I could extract from it and apply to other areas and aspects of my life to make me somewhat of a decent human being. At the core of what I wanted to do, I wanted to just make an impact. I wanted my presence to be felt. Like there's a quote that says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing to help other people? Like it reminded me of a story about a father, a single father and his son, right? And the father was trying to go to a conference and he was trying to find a babysitter for his son. And I guess the son was bad because nobody wanted to watch him. And so when he got to the conference, the father said, I'm gonna go up front, you just sit in the back and you bear this one out. Your son is sitting in the back and different speakers are getting up to talk. And the lady gets up and she starts talking about making a difference, purpose, impact. It lands on the son. He gets home that night with his father. He goes into his room. He says, Dad, thank you. I really enjoyed that. The dad said, really? He said, what did you enjoy about it? He said, when the lady got up to speak and she was talking about making an impact. He said, I want to make an impact. He said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to work at the local grocery store. He said, but what do you want to do? He said, I want to bag groceries. He said, that should be easy. He goes up to the local grocery store, gets the son a job. Son starts bagging groceries. 2 weeks in, son comes home and says, Dad, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, but I want to do something to make a deeper impact. The father says to him, well, when you bag the groceries, just wave at him, son, and tell him have a good day, that's your work. The son said, no, I want to do something to make a deeper impact. He said, what do you have in mind? He said, I want to make note cards, and I want to put them in the bags. Can you help me make copies? The father says, sure, man, I got your back. Son starts doing it. One day the manager comes into the store, he goes upstairs to the team members, and he says, hey guys, get on the intercom. Why is everybody in line 8 in this little kid's line? He said, tell them we got 7, we got 6, and we got 5 open. They got on the intercom, hey guys, we see everybody's in 8, we got 7, 6, and 5 open, nobody moved. He said, go down to the floor and tell them. They went down to the floor, hey guys, we see everybody's in Johnny the Bagger's line. We just want you all to know we got 7, 6, and 5 open. The people responded, we know. They said, I want to stand Lord Johnny's line, I want to get that word of the day. It said people started coming in the store, getting a carton of eggs, gallon of milk, loaf of bread, didn't need groceries. They would come in and be in line on the phone saying, man, you gotta come into the store and get this note card from this kid. Like it makes the biggest difference, right? And the thing that blew my mind about the whole ordeal was, here you had a kid that drove business to an institution and it wasn't based upon a business strategy. He never went to the manager and said, man, I wanna help with the bottom line, I wanna help do this. Like, and the only thing he did was, I just wanna make an impact and I wanna touch people. Like the X factor in life. I think sometimes people are so arrogant, they have a certain level of success, they get more degrees than a thermometer and you can't tell them nothing. And they forget the X factor in life is people. Right? Like at the core of what we do in football, the way they word it and frame it is, it's not so much about the X's and O's as it is about the Jimmys and the Joes. And so when I got to Tennessee, I gotta be honest with you, it was Mayberry for me. I was like, man, you guys got a smoothie machine? I'm like, you got your own personal barber? I can get 5 meals a day? You get clothing, you get shoes? Right? On top of that, you get a process that all you have to do is follow the process and you get a shot at success? Not the NFL, the great equalizer in life, but education. And I had 2 meetings. And my first 2 meetings, they pretty much asked me, what's your plan? What do you want to do? And I said, it's simple. I want to graduate in 3 years and I'm going to the NFL. They said, well, Inky, you didn't just knock out your test scores. I said, yeah, but I really want to help my family. And the thing about dreams, goals, and aspirations, if you ask the average person, why do they want what they want? You got the New Year starting, everybody got a resolution, everybody got a declaration to do better. And if you go to them and say, why do you want what you want? Why are you trying to do what you're trying to do? The average person will say, man, I want to improve my family's quality of life. I want my children to have it better than I have, right? And coming into my 3rd year at this university, I was watching film, projector screens just like this. And my defensive backs coach comes into the room. And he says, Ink, I got some great news for you. And I dropped the clicker. I said, what you got, coach? He hands me the first sheet of paper. At the top it had, on track to graduate in 3 years. I said, man, that's awesome. Hands me the second sheet of paper. At the top it had projected top 30 draft pick as a cornerback. He said, all you gotta do is play your next 10 football games, son. You're automatic multi-millionaire. I run out of the room. I called my mother, my grandmother on the 3-way. They pick up. I said, listen, after this season, our lives are about to change forever. And little did I know our lives were really about to change. We come out first game, we get a victory. I get nominated on ESPN SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Everything goes great. Second game, we're playing against Air Force. Tough group, disciplined group, comes out, punches us in the mouth. We're in the 4th quarter of this game, and it's 2 minutes left. Game is basically over, unless you're playing against freaking Tom Brady or somebody. That guy there, man. That guy's a problem, man. And their quarterback drops back, and he releases the ball to one of the receivers, and he catches it. And I'm going to make the tackle that's supposed to end the game. And I'm not thinking much of it. And I go up, and as soon as I make contact with this guy, something happened that had never happened to me before in my life. As soon as I hit him, it seemed as if every breath in my body left. My body went completely limp. I fell to the ground and I blacked out. It never happened to me before. When my eyes opened, my teammates ran over to me and said, Ink, get up, let's rock. I said, I can't. They said, what do you mean you can't, man? You always get up. I said, I know, man, but I can't move. I said, there's a shock going from the crown of my head to the bottom of my feet. I can't feel anything. The shock eventually left and it stayed in my right arm and hand. They brought the spine board out. They put me on the spine board. They're wheeling me off the field and we get to the ambulance. And my father's standing there. And I say to my father as I'm lying on the spine board, I said, Pops, I got him, right? I put it on him, right? He said, yeah, son, but I really think you got the worst part of this one. They roll me up in the ambulance. Doctor said, Ink, we'll take you over, run a couple tests, you should be fine. It's football, things happen. They take me over, they run their tests, they bring me back into a room. My mother comes in. She kisses me, she says a prayer, cracks a joke, says it's football, things happening, you'll be fine. And she's going to exit the room, and I'll never forget, I was watching my mother exit the room, and when she left, I can hear footsteps from the opposite side. And when I turned to look, I could see it's the head doctor. And he's doing a little light jog and he's screaming. And he's saying, guys, get in here. You gotta rush this kid back to emergency surgery. He's about to die. And I'll never forget as I was sitting there looking at him, and I'm like, man, you can't use another word? Like, use a synonym, brother, like die? And he's like, yeah, die. I'm like die. He's like, yeah, die. I said, what happened? He said, you ruptured your subclavian artery in your chest, you're bleeding internally. He said, we gotta rush you back, take the main vein out of your left leg, plug it into your chest in order to save your life. He said, oh, I guarantee you won't be here no more. I said, let's go. And the next morning I woke up, I'll never forget, I'm sitting there, and people are coming in and out of my room. They say, man, Inky, you're a good guy, man. You deserved it. You did things the right way. And I'll never forget, I'm sitting there, and I got 6 cuts down my left thigh. Got 1 across the left side of my neck, 1 across the right side, twice through my right ribs, cut out my right pec, bottom of my armpit to the bottom of my hand, 350 staples in my body, and bandaged me from my neck to my knees. Because when they went in to repair the artery, they noticed I had torn all the nerves in my brachial plexus, the nerve roots that went from my spine that controlled my shoulder, my arm, my hand, and my fingers. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, was that it? Like, was that all you wanted? Like, were you that shallow? To where you let your career end and people are coming into a room and they're acting as if they're reading you your eulogy. They're acting as if your life is over. Like, was that all you wanted? And it was literally as if somebody pulled the shades up on my life and they said, now you see life for what it's really worth. Like they told me, Inky, we're just trying to get you to assisted daily living. If you can one day just grab a grocery bag and take it in the house with your right arm and hand, that's a win for us. If you can one day just grip a pencil and just write your name with your right arm and hand, like that's a win for us. But they said there's a possibility you may never be able to use this arm and this hand another day for the rest of your life. And I responded, physically. They said, what do you mean physically? I said, yeah, physically I'm out of commission. I don't have that right hook, I can't catch interceptions, I'm out of commission. I said, but I will use this arm and this hand every day of my life for the rest of my life by the way that I live my life, because I would never allow a situation or circumstance to determine my life. All right? I'm not one of these guys that travel around and try to tell people how to do what they do. I wouldn't disrespect you in that way. But I do understand there's one thing to be true about life. In life, people don't burn out because of what they do. People burn out because life makes them forget why they do it. Like the passion, the fire, the dedication, the commitment. That when people first start things, when they're on fire, right? When they believe, when they have a level of faith, like unbelievable, right? I just want to serve as a reminder of what's important. I just want you to never take this thing called life for granted. I just want you to never take your community, your family, the things you're connected to, and the things you've been able to do for granted. I just want you, if you can give more, if you can do more, if you can serve more, do it. I tell guys all the time, if you operate off 93 premium, don't run off of low grade. Don't run off of mid grade. If you run off of diesel, run off of diesel. If you can give more, give more. If you can do more, do more. Because people got this sense to where when they do things, it's only you and you that knows how much you can do and how far you can go. And I'm talking about living life with a level of conviction. Not this superficial, materialistic thing to where if I get a certain level of success, I'm cool, I made it. No, doing something that when the clock stops, when it's all said and done, I just believe like you can't take a U-Haul behind a hearse. Right? And I just believe when the clock stops, nobody's gonna get up and talk about how much money somebody had. Nobody's gonna get up and talk about the square footage of a home. Nobody's gonna get up and talk about like what type of shoes they had. When the clock stops, people are gonna get up and talk about making a difference, making an impact, sacrifices. Because at the end of the day, I firmly believe life is about two things. It's about who we become in life, and it's about what we give back to life. That's my time. God bless you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for those thought-provoking words. And hopefully it makes everybody think a little bit more about why we do what we do. That's good. Okay, moving on. Each year, the Groundhog Committee has the privilege of recognizing an individual who has made a positive impact on our community. The Alfred Community Service Award is given in honor and memory of a great leader who proudly and humbly served our community. The list of award winners demonstrates what a truly special community we have in Licking County. A few past recipients include Patrick Wansel, Jack O'Neill, Jennifer Utrevis, Jerry McLean, Steve Lehman, Skip Salome, and Dan DeLauder. What a list. This year we honor someone who is a leader on numerous initiatives across multiple platforms in our community. An individual who has built partnerships, programs, places, and more. I'm going to narrow down the nominees with the use of this pronoun. She has led and served on numerous boards, including the Ohio State University at Newark Board of Trustees, Central Ohio Technical College Accreditation Team, Licking Memorial Health Systems Development Council, Our Futures of Licking County Executive Committee. She's the founder of Women in Nonprofit Leadership of Licking County and the Licking County Historical Alliance. She was the recipient of the Tourism Partner of the Year in 2011 by Explore Licking County and the Bravo Award by Newark Rotary in 2018. She received her bachelor's degree in cultural geography from Radford University, and if you haven't figured it out by now, she has devoted time and resources to preserving the history of Licking County and helping educators and students, especially young women, expand their knowledge of STEM-related projects and career pathways. She had an incredible vision to build a side-dome planetarium on the Works campus, resulting in a unique public-private partnership with Ohio State Newark and a successful campaign that raised $2.7 million for construction, programs, and sustainability, all culminating in the opening of the side-dome on June 9th, 2018. She is the Executive Director of the Works, Ohio's Center for History and Arts Technology. And she and her husband, Jonathan, live in Granville, and they have 3 children and 5 grandchildren. Please help me in presenting Mrs. Marcia Downs with the John Alford Community Service Award.
I am just totally shocked. And all I want to say to all of you is I appreciate your amazing support day in, day out, the corporate support, the support of our amazing Works Board to make a difference in working with education in our community and lifting our community up through education to make a difference in our economic workforce and in development. And my last thing is I'm really glad the Chamber paid us to make this award because that helps support our glass studio. So thank you so much.
Congratulations, Marcia, on this well-deserved recognition. And as we all want to say, thank you again for all you do for Licking County. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's see who's behind those cool dance moves. Let's see who our celebrity Groundhog is for this year. It's Jim Matesic, President and CEO of Matesic Distributing.
Wow, that thing's hot. Inky, I tell you, I didn't get to have breakfast this morning. Probably sweated off 10 pounds back there. But just hearing your speech today was worth the trip. And I congratulate you. I congratulate you on how you've led your life. I hope I can use that as a model for the years I have remaining, and for being here today to help us celebrate this event. You know, I thought about this for a few minutes, and I'm not going to extend this program anymore because we might get to a level 3 by the time I was finished. But if I was a furry creature and I got out of my burrow today, I was the dumbest animal in the world. I mean, I left my house this morning. I'm thinking, what the heck am I doing? I tell you, I would be remiss if I didn't say this morning how proud I was to sit in that silly costume and watch my daughter on the screen. To have a fourth generation run a family business is truly an honor to be a part of. And I couldn't ask for anybody else that I would want to do that with any more than my daughter, Sarah. So thank you so much. And hopefully your two sisters won't get a videotape of that. It is invigorating to sit and listen to the presentations this morning on the economic development of our community, when in fact our businesses rely on not only what they say, but ultimately what happens. It was encouraging to hear the comments today. We have the pleasure to service retailers and communities throughout 10 counties in eastern and central Ohio. And they are very diverse. And I grew up in a community just east of here in Zanesville, and didn't spend a whole lot of time in Newark until after I graduated from the Ohio State University. Of course, when I did it, there wasn't the "the" in front of it, but when I graduated from Ohio State, my father looked at me and said, "Son, I've got a brother in Newark who needs someone to help him. Your brother has already planted his roots here in Zanesville with his family, and you're going to Newark." And I thought, oh man, nobody's going to do my laundry. I'm not going to get meals every day. I got to move out of the house. But I did, and I am truly pleased and blessed that my father asked me to do that, and then ultimately we built our building here in 1980. I'll make one comment. I don't know if anybody was doing the math this morning, but as Sarah was getting videotaped, our brick wall was behind her and it said established 1933. And I know it's not 2023 yet, but we actually started in 1928. Or I'm sorry, yes, 1928, as a 7-Up and near beer distributor by a 17-year-old son of an immigrant. So, we put the 33 on there because that was repeal of prohibition. I think there may have been some concerns about what we were doing for 5 years before we did it. If we put 28 on there, so finally we said, oh, heck with it. You know, we'll tell people a story if they ask. But anyway, thank you very much for this honor. It's been a pleasure to be here. Can't wait to have some breakfast. Maybe there's some leftovers of some groundhog back there, and I can enjoy that. But have a great day. Be safe wherever you're going.
Thanks, Jim. Wow. Look at the time. It's going quick, but fortunately, you can all still get 8 hours of work in. Actually, good news is 8 hours is in by 2 in the afternoon. So, I would like to once again thank our sponsor, TrueCore Federal Credit Union, and Inky Johnson for sharing his insight and his message. Also, congratulations once again, Marcia Downs. This year's Our corporate sponsor for the 2020 Groundhog Breakfast will be the Newark Advocate. If you have any interest in being a future sponsor for the Groundhog Breakfast, you should move fast. 2024 is the next available opening. If you're interested, please see Jen McDonald on that one. And now I would just like to say thanks again to all who helped make this event happen, especially to each and every one of you for getting up this early and coming to the show. We are adjourned until next year. Have a great day, everyone.